Welcome to Ex-Confessions Unlocked, where lies, betrayal, and truth collide. Kindly subscribe so you don't miss any of this. We share new stories daily. Stick around and unlock the drama. Now, let's get into today's story. The text came while I was still on the tarmac, boots dusty from a tour. Just 7 words. Don't come home. It's over. Nancy. No explanation. No warning. I hadn't even unzipped my duffel. I was sitting on a splintered bench outside Redmond Municipal Airport, my duffel bag between my boots, sun low in the sky, and throwing long shadows across the parking lot. That was it. No explanation. No punctuation. Dry as dust. I stared at it for a while, expecting a second message. Something sarcastic. Just kidding, or even a follow-up like, meant that for someone else. But my phone stayed quiet. The little typing bubble never showed up. At first, I thought maybe it was a joke. Maybe Nancy was being snarky about how long I'd been gone. Deployments test relationships. We'd been through 2 before this one. She always joked that I marry the Army first, her second. But this time, something had fell off, even before I boarded the plane. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. The weirdest part? There hadn't been a fight before I left. Things weren't perfect, but nothing worth a full shutdown. We'd been married 8 years. We'd seen good years and rough patches. But we'd always talked through them. Or, at least pretended to. I texted back. What's this about? Nancy, are you okay? No answer. A truck pulled up to the curb, old, red, with one door that creaked loud enough to wake the dead. Mark, my buddy from my first tour, now runs a ranch outside Bend. He offered to pick me up and let me crash at his place for a few days before I headed home to Portland. Jesus, he said as I slid in. You look like you got ambushed at baggage claim. I handed him my phone. He read the text, exhaled hard, and just said, well, damn. The ride to his place was quiet. I stared out the window as the pine trees blurred by. Country roads, old barbed wire fences, the scent of dirt and sage in the late summer air. The silence in the cab was louder than any explosion I'd ever heard. I didn't know what to think. Had something happened? Was she okay? Had someone else died? My stomach churned with every mile we drove. And underneath all that, this little voice kept asking, is there someone else? Mark's place was a wide, 1-story ranch house with peeling paint and 2 dogs that barked like they were paid by the hour. I threw my bag in the spare room, took a long, hot shower, and tried not to let my thoughts spin off into the deep end. That night, I laid awake staring at the ceiling, checking my phone every 10 minutes. Nothing. Until morning. It wasn't Nancy who responded. It was a text from a new number. Mr. Dalton, this is Brian Keller, legal counsel for Nancy Dalton. Please refrain from contact. My client has initiated separation proceedings. Future communication should go through this office. I sat there in Mark's kitchen, phone in one hand, cup of black coffee in the other, and read it twice. Maybe 3 times. Mark just shook his head and muttered, that's cold. We're not the type to cry in front of each other. Served too many years, seen too much. But I could tell he felt for me. He poured me another cup and didn't ask questions. I didn't even know we were at the point of lawyers. Hell, she hadn't said a damn word to me. Just that one sentence. For words, and then a lawyer. I spent the next 2 hours trying to decide if I should go back to Portland anyway. My name was on the lease. My things were in that apartment. Every framed photo of us. The pair of boots she bought me for our anniversary. My guitar. My books. I texted her from a prepaid phone I picked up in town. Nancy, it's me. Just tell me what's going on. You owe me that much. She left me on read. No response. No closure. Just silence. 2 days later, another message from the lawyer. Please be advised. Further attempts to contact my client will be documented as harassment. Direct all matters through legal channels moving forward. I didn't even recognize the woman in these messages. I sat out on Mark's porch that night, beers sweating in my hand, listening to the coyotes in the distance. Stars were out. Clear sky. Peaceful in a way I couldn't appreciate. And it hit me real hard, like stepping off a curb and realizing there's no ground beneath your foot. Maybe she had already decided before I left. Maybe she just waited for the moment I was far enough away to do it clean. Quiet. Efficient. No mess. No yelling. Just a text and a lawyer. It felt surgical, and I had no idea who Nancy really was anymore. Maybe I never did. I waited a week before deciding to drive to Portland. Every lawyer I spoke to said the same thing. You technically still have rights to the residence, but if your wife's legal team has already issued a no-contact advisory, any appearance could be spun against you. Still, I wasn't planning to knock on the door. I just wanted to see it. Our apartment. Our street. My life, or what used to be mine. I needed some part of this to feel real, to break the fog I've been walking around in. Mark didn't like the idea. "You're not going to like what you find," he said, handing me a thermos of coffee as I packed up the rental car. "I don't like any of this already," I said. The drive was quiet. Just past Salem, it started to rain, light and steady, the kind that just makes everything look washed out and tired. Portland was gray when I arrived, which felt right. The apartment looked the same from the outside. Second floor unit, corner end, little patio with a planter box Nancy used to fill with rosemary and lavender. Only now it was empty. Dead soil and one busted ceramic pot. I didn't go up, just parked on the opposite curb, angled in a way where I could see the window we used to keep cracked open, even in winter. It was closed now, curtains drawn. I sat there for 20 minutes. Then someone stepped out of the unit next door, an older woman with silver hair, pulled into a tight braid. Mrs. Leary. She lived there with her husband since forever, always slipped us extra banana bread around the holidays. She squinted at my car, then recognized me, gave a little wave, crossed the street without hesitation. "Tom," she asked. "Hi, Mrs. Leary." She frowned, taking in my face, the out-of-place duffel in the back seat. "We didn't know when you were coming back." "Yeah, I wasn't sure myself." She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "Look, I don't want to stir anything up, but you should know, Nancy had a man staying over. Started a couple months after you deployed. We figured it was her brother at first. But, well," her eyes said the rest. I didn't flinch. I just nodded. Felt like I'd already grieved the marriage in the past week, and now I was just cataloging the damage. "She stopped talking to most of us," Mrs. Leary added. "Even got snippy when we asked about you. Said you were dealing with things, and she needed space." "Thank you," I said, not really knowing what else to say. She gave me a small, sad smile. "You were always kind to us. You deserve better than secrets." That evening, I checked into a motel just outside the city. One of those generic places with beige walls, buzzing overhead lights, and air that smelled faintly of bleach. I ordered takeout. Didn't eat much. I didn't cry, but I also didn't sleep. The next day, I met with my own lawyer. His name was Alan Singh. Straightforward guy, calm demeanor, didn't sugarcoat anything. "She's moved fast," he said, flipping through the printed documents Nancy's attorney had filed. "Filed for separation under irreconcilable differences. Requests sole occupancy of the residence. Cites emotional distress if contact occurs." She didn't mention anything about an affair. No, not yet, and she probably won't. Courts don't care much about infidelity these days unless it affects finances. He set the papers down. "But here's the thing. Her timeline's inconsistent. Says you were informed of separation intentions back in July, which, obviously, you weren't." "Nope. Got the text 2 days ago." That inconsistency might be useful, especially if she's tried to move someone else into the apartment. I looked at him. "She has." Alan leaned back. "You sure?" Neighbor confirmed it. She thought it was Nancy's brother at first, but, yeah, she's not subtle, apparently. He smiled, thin and satisfied. "That'll help us. You were blindsided. She moved fast, maybe too fast. Courts like clean processes, not ambushes. If she's trying to leverage an emotional exit narrative while already living with someone else, well, that undermines her case." That was the first time in 2 weeks I felt anything like control. I didn't want revenge. I just didn't want to be made into a villain in a story I didn't even get to read. We filed a formal notice disputing her timeline and requesting that my access to the apartment be restored. We didn't push hard, just enough to get attention. Alan knew the game. You apply quiet pressure and let the other side show their cracks. 2 days later, I got a call from Nancy's attorney. Not an email, not a letter, a call. He sounded flustered, almost nervous. "Mr. Dalton, I was hoping we could discuss terms amicably. My client is open to reconsidering the current housing arrangements. If you'd prefer a buyout or negotiated withdrawal, we can explore options to avoid formal litigation." It was the first time I heard the edge in his voice slip. And that's when it clicked. Something spooked them. Nancy had moved fast. Too fast. She probably never expected me to come back calm, collected, and with representation. She probably imagined I'd blow up, lash out, storm the apartment, something she could use. Instead, I sat still, listened, and watched her unravel her own plan. That night, I went back to Mark's ranch. It was quiet, just the hum of cicadas and the wind in the grass. Mark handed me a beer and sat down beside me on the porch. "You good?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "Not yet, but getting there." A week after the lawyer's call, I received a manila envelope at Mark's place. No return address, just my name in neat handwriting. Nancy's handwriting. Inside was a key, our apartment key, and a folded note that simply read, "You can come get your things. I won't be there." No apology. No explanation. Just logistics. A transaction. I let the key sit on Mark's kitchen table for 2 days before deciding what to do with it. On the third day, I drove back to Portland. I parked in the same spot across the street like I had before, only this time I walked up. The stairs creaked under my boots. The door still had our old welcome mat. Faded letters. Home is where the heart is. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. It was quiet. Empty. She cleared out most of her stuff already. Her jackets were gone from the rack. No shoes by the door. Her side of the bathroom sink bare. The living room still had the same couch and TV, but all the little details, our framed wedding photo, the throw blanket she used to keep folded perfectly gone. In the bedroom, my things were packed into boxes. Clothes folded, books stacked, even my shaving kit zipped up. It was efficient. Clean. Like she couldn't get me out fast enough. But then I opened the closet and saw it. A cardboard box tucked in the back, taped shut, but not labeled. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. All addressed to me. All in her handwriting. I sat on the edge of the bed, our bed, and opened the first one. It was dated 4 months into my deployment. "Tom, today I cried in the car. Not because of anything specific. Just the weight of everything. The silence. I miss your stupid jokes. I miss the way you knock your boots twice before coming in. I feel like I'm unraveling in slow motion." Another. "Sometimes I wonder if we made a mistake. Not marrying. No, I don't regret that. But maybe the life we chose. The distance. I'm tired of being the strong one. I want someone who's here." Some were angry. Some were sad. Some felt like they were written just to hear her own voice on paper. But none had ever been mailed. She wrote me all these words, poured her thoughts out, and never sent a single one. Instead, she found someone who was there. By the time I reached the last letter, I didn't even feel angry. Just hollow. That night, I loaded my things into the rental. Took only what I needed: uniforms, gear, a few books, my guitar. I left behind everything else. Let her keep the furniture, the dishes, the TV. Let her build whatever life she thought she needed to be happy. I didn't say goodbye. Didn't leave a note. But 2 days later, I got a voicemail. Not from Nancy. From her phone, but not her voice. It was a man. He was shouting in the background, and Nancy was clearly trying to calm him down. Then there was a scuffle, a loud bang like something hitting the floor, and the call cut off. It was less than 20 seconds, but it said enough. I played it twice. Saved it. Forwarded it to my lawyer. Alan called me an hour later. "Did you go to the apartment after this was recorded?" "No," I said. "Was already back in Bend." "Good. This changes everything." He filed a motion that day, citing concerns over her living situation and the presence of a third party who was clearly volatile. We didn't accuse. We just asked questions: whether this environment was stable, whether her judgment had been sound during the separation. 2 days later, her lawyer called again. This time his voice was different. Measured. Careful. Like he knew we had something, but didn't know what else we knew. "Mr. Dalton, we'd like to propose a mutual withdrawal from contested negotiations. My client is open to an amicable division of property and assets. No claims made either way." Translation: Nancy wanted out quietly. But Alan wasn't done yet. "We'll agree to those terms," he said, "but only after we receive a written statement from your client acknowledging that Mr. Dalton was unaware of the separation and had not been informed of any extramarital cohabitation prior to his return." There was a long silence on the line. Then, "I'll talk to her." Nancy signed the statement 2 days later. I didn't ask for more. Didn't need to rub it in. The truth was on paper. That was enough. You'd think that would have been the end of it. The signed statement, the voicemail, the quiet exit. But when someone builds a lie fast enough to live in it, the cracks keep coming long after they think they've escaped. 2 weeks later, I got a notification from my bank. An overdraft alert. I hadn't used that account in a while. It was the joint one Nancy and I had set up right after we got married. We mostly used it for shared expenses. I had my own separate savings and an account through the military credit union. She knew that. Still, I logged in. The balance was negative $312. And that wasn't the strange part. It was the transaction history. She'd been using the account steadily, even after filing for separation. Gas, groceries, some bills that made sense. But then came the PayPal withdrawals. Big ones. Several $100s at a time, every few days. A few flagged as vendor payments. Some just marked with random usernames. It added up to over $3,000 in less than a month. I forwarded the statement to Alan. He called me that afternoon. "Do you think she was doing this intentionally? Or just assuming you wouldn't notice?" "I honestly don't know," I said. but I'm guessing she forgot that account had my name on it. He sighed. She's technically not in violation of any specific court order yet, since there hasn't been a formal ruling or division. But this helps. It shows lack of good faith. If we needed to go further, this would be useful. I didn't need to go further. I was already moving on, but it was a quiet relief to know, if push came to shove, I wouldn't be the one scrambling. I closed the account the next day. A week later, I got an unexpected message, this time from someone I hadn't heard from since before the deployment. Her name was Tara. We used to hang out in a small group, mostly couple stuff, dinners, games, the occasional trip to the coast. She and Nancy had been close once. Her message was short. Hey Tom, I know this is weird, but can we talk? I think you should know some things. We met at a coffee shop downtown. She looked the same, kind eyes, wind-blown hair, still wore that silver locket she never took off. She gave me a quiet smile, like she didn't know how to start. I'm sorry, she said. I should have reached out sooner. You don't owe me anything, I said, and meant it. I might, she replied. Nancy cut off a lot of people after you deployed, but we stayed in touch, sort of. I saw her a couple times over the spring. She told me you were struggling, that the distance had changed you, that things were already over. I didn't say anything. She said you'd pulled away emotionally, that you might not even come back. I think she was laying the groundwork to justify what she was doing. Was she with him then? I asked. Tara nodded. I didn't meet him, but I knew. She got cagey about who she was spending time with. Changed her hair. Started dressing different. You know when someone's trying to be noticed again. There was a pause. She looked down at her coffee, swirling the spoon. I didn't know how to confront her. But I want you to know, none of us believed you were the bad guy. She just rewrote the story before anyone could ask questions. I should have been angry. I should have felt betrayed. But instead, I felt oddly light. Like someone had finally turned on a light in a room I'd been sitting in too long. I appreciate you telling me, I said. She reached across the table and touched my wrist lightly. You deserve better, Tom. And I think you're going to find it. After that conversation, things moved quickly. The final paperwork came through within 2 weeks. Uncontested, clean division of what was left. Nancy waived any claim to my military pension. I waived any right to the apartment. Neither of us fought. It was like two people walking away from a car crash, 2 days to yell. The last time I saw her name was on the FedEx envelope with the signed decree. No handwritten note. No parting words. And honestly, I didn't need them. Life didn't snap back into place after the divorce. There wasn't some triumphant moment where I raised a glass and shouted, I'm free. It was quieter than that. Slower. Like thawing ice. The first real change came the morning I woke up without dread sitting on my chest. Just woke up. Sunlight coming through the blinds. No texts. No missed calls. No anxiety buzzing beneath my skin. Just stillness. I started doing little things again. Things I used to enjoy before I forgot I did. I fixed my guitar. Started playing on the porch after dinner. Went on long hikes up the buttes near Bend. Got a dog, Scout, a rescue mutt with one ear that sticks up and one that flops. He follows me everywhere now, like I'm the most important person in the world. No judgment. No history. I'd always assumed I'd stay in the military until they told me I couldn't. But something shifted. One night, I sat on the floor with Scout asleep beside me and realized I didn't want to deploy again. Not because I was afraid. Not because of Nancy. But because for the first time in years, I wanted to build something for myself. Something rooted. So I started the transition out. Found a local job in logistics, civilian side. I've got 6 months left on base, then I'm done. Honorable discharge. No regrets. I didn't tell anyone from the old life. Most of our mutual friends drifted away after the split. I didn't chase them. People show you who they are when things fall apart. And I learned to stop begging for clarity where it won't come. But then one morning, out of nowhere, I got another message. This time, from Nancy. Just a line. I hope you're doing okay. I'm sorry for everything. I wasn't okay, and I didn't handle it right. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't know how to respond, but because I didn't need to. I didn't respond at all. She didn't follow up. It felt like both of us understood that chapter was closed. And here's the thing. I don't hate her. I don't know if she and that guy lasted. I don't know if she's happy. I don't care. She made her choices. I made mine. And while hers were selfish, mine eventually saved me. Because being forced out of my own life made me start asking better questions. Who am I without the uniform? What do I want when no one's watching? Who do I become when I stop defining myself by who I loved or who left me? I'm figuring it out. Every day. I got a small place just outside of town now. Nothing fancy, pine paneling, a wood stove, a view of the hills. Scout likes it. Sometimes I wake up early just to watch the fog roll through the trees. Peace doesn't look like a movie ending. It looks like taking your coffee outside, breathing the cold morning air, and realizing nobody's waiting to hurt you anymore. So yeah, my wife texted me, "Don't come home," after my tour. And it wrecked me. For a while. But 48 hours later, her lawyer begged for mercy. Not because I fought dirty, but because I didn't have to. Truth has a weight of its own. You just have to be patient enough to let it land.